On today's episode of the WNP podcast, we question if there's any team that can compete with the Big Three. Plus, we give our predictions for the Wolverines Spartans game. Stay tuned. Episode 120 of the We're Not Professionals podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and join me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how you doing?
I'm doing swell. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. If you watched the last episode, you can see that we haven't changed. We're doing these shows back to back, and we actually just did a Bolts broadcast before our two WNP podcasts as well. So you know what that means, Chase?
What?
At least for me.
What?
It's beverage o'clock. So we're going to do a live review on the show right now. So if you're watching the YouTube version, go ahead, take a peek. We've got Odd Side Grape. It's a hard seltzer. You said you haven't tried these, right?
I don't think
At
I've
least
had
the grape.
I've had the other flavors.
It is very grapey. Would you like to try it?
Nah,
Okay.
It's COVID.
Oh, true, COVID. Not bad. Beverage o'clock for me being 2:36, but when you're doing so many podcasts, you know, you got to open it up a little bit, get a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah, I don't day drink. So.
Well, Coke Zero gets you all loosey-goosey.
No, we're not sponsored by them, so.
Oh, right.
Random company with red can.
Yes.
Loosey goosey.
That's a good point. Can you give us a review? How does that?
Tastes very flavorful.
Okay, thank you. Today's episode, we of course are doing a college football episode. We haven't done one in 3 or 4 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
But this is the big week. We've got U of M versus MSU. I am an MSU alum. Chase is a Walmart, Michigan fan. So
I don't own like any Walmart cheese. I don't own any Michigan attire. Like I own like a hat that I've had for like 10 years.
Where'd you get it?
I couldn't tell you.
So it is a big week for everyone up here in Michigan. Not sure what's really going to be happening for the game. I know you and I are tasked with helping Johnny move in, so we're going to help him do that. And then depending on when the game is, we'll either watch there or, hey, if we get done super early, I might just book it up there. But we'll see. Either way, after the game is over, I'll be up in East Lansing, hopefully celebrating a big win. Go State. Go Green.
Yeah, I've got $20 on the line in favor of Michigan State because I really don't think Michigan. I want Michigan to win this game. I'll be honest, I do, but I think there's no chance to win this game. They're bound to lose 3 games between Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State, or lose 2 of the 3 games. Excuse me. And they're losing Ohio State. That's a lock.
Yep.
So it's between Penn State and Michigan State, and it's not gonna be Penn State. Penn State looks so bad. Like
Who did they just lose to? They lost in 10 overtimes?
Yeah, to what's their nuts?
Why can't I remember? Nebraska?
Maybe. I don't know.
No, Michigan versus Nebraska, I think.
Yeah,
so it
Penn
wasn't
State
Nebraska.
Schedule. Let's figure that out.
Yeah,
right
pull
now.
that up. Illinois was the Fighting Illini.
It was Illinois, 20-18 and 9 overtimes in college football record. It was a little bit of an asterisk overtime because they changed the rule apparently this year. I had no idea until it was happening that after 3 overtimes you just go for 2-point conversions the whole time.
Yep. Little weird.
So weird. 20-18, 9 overtimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that doesn't sound possible.
That means we're not going to get those high scoring games anymore. I think it was the Rose Bowl between Oregon and Penn State like 4 years ago or something where they both had over, I think, 60 points.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, not going to get any more of those. But let's talk about some big news. Starting off with Zach Evans, the number 2 running back recruit last year, going to TCU. Didn't really play much last year, got a little bit towards the end of the season. This year, he started a little bit slower, but really started to blow up. Then he is out for 2 weeks ago's game. Comes back in this past week's game, is all right. But the big thing is that he no longer has TCU in any of his Instagram or Twitter or anything like that.
Yeah, you know, this is always a funny narrative. Sometimes it means nothing. Sometimes it means something. So we'll kind of see. Spencer Rattler did the same thing. We're not breaking any news there. Where this Zach Evans thing literally happened this morning as of us recording. So maybe you are breaking the news to you, but like this happens oftentimes. Guys means that they're transferring elsewhere, that they're exploring their options. Maybe. So we'll see. He's better than TCU. It's just true talent. Let's be honest, but. Obviously, all of his issues have caused him to really be limited in his options, I would say. So we'll see what happens. I can't imagine him taking a step down. Like, I really can't. You can't get, if you want to be an elite possible draft pick, high-end draft pick, you can't take another step. You can't go play at a lower school than TCU.
I'm very worried that this might be linked to some of his personality issues that he had to start his college career.
And high school, too. Like, he got kicked off his high school team.
I am hoping and praying that's not the case, and rather that maybe he's just having a disagreement with how he's being used and wants a better opportunity, so he's going to go someplace that has that better opportunity for him. I'm hoping that's the case, because if it's the former, then that's a guy who could miss out on an NFL career. Incredible talent, but couldn't get his act together. Hopefully that's not the case, though. I'm
not touching him as a transfer school. I'm not touching him as a pro team. Excuse me, right now. Like, he's a 5-star recruit running back that gets kicked off of his high school team before the state championship game.
Yeah, I think as of right now, because I haven't heard anything in over a year, that I would take him because he is in his second year with TCU. So I think as of right now, I'm okay with it. But this concerns me a little bit. So
I'm not going to ignore the signs like I did with Spencer Rattler. Like, when you watch him on QB1, and that guy was just a total train wreck. You're like, maybe he can mature. Quarterbacks do mature. Quarterbacks have to mature based on the nature of the position. But he hasn't. Like, he very clearly hasn't. Like, he's not supportive of his team in any way. It's all about him. So I'm learning from the past, and I'm not going to just fully say I'm out on Zach Evans quite yet. But if I had a draft. Like, say you were to enter the NFL draft this year, I would be avoiding.
Yeah. I mean, he can't, but
I know. Just like if he could.
Running back, quarterback, very different positions, so I would be okay with it. I mean, you look at some guys in the league that have had rough past that are doing really well for themselves. Joe Mixon. He got suspended in game for some abuse on camera, and he's come into the league and has been a shining star in the community of Cincinnati and everything like that. So there have been guys that have progressed, and with me not hearing anything for over a year, with everything, him being at TCU, I've heard nothing but good things. I'm okay with it. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes out of this. Like, there could be something else. If there is something else, then it's probably going to sway your opinion a little bit if it's really something that's like that important. Yeah,
for sure.
But
or watch you just going back to Georgia. Georgia's like, hey, Zamir White and Cook's brother, James Cook. They're going to be gone after this year, so might as well just come on back.
Yeah, we might as well not use Kendall Milton to his full abilities. Might as well keep clogging up our backfield.
Yeah, who knows? All right, let's talk about Spencer Rattler. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to college football whatsoever, he's been replaced by Caleb Williams. The guy was the number 1 overall quarterback recruit before Quinn Ewers decided to come out a little bit early. He looked really good game 1. This past game, he didn't look as good. He had a little bit of struggles, Caleb Williams, that is. What are we thinking about this whole Oklahoma situation? It feels like Spencer Rattler has to transfer, but what if he just decides, hey, I'm coming out in the NFL right now?
Please do.
I hope not.
I don't root for people's failures, but that would be hilarious to watch him go undrafted, because at this point he will. I legitimately think he would go undrafted.
Yeah.
There's no chance he's entering the draft. There's no way he's gonna. Especially nowadays that they can. Every legitimate college athlete, they have agents and advisors and stuff. They're gonna say you can't do that. You have to go back. You have to figure your shit out. You have to go back elsewhere. And he'll transfer to a smaller school. He'll transfer to, a Wyoming caliber type of school, for example, and see what he can do there. If he can figure it out and have a great season, then he's back on track to being a first-round pick like he is. He has enough talent to do it. But the attitude issues, the concerns off the field, the way he treats his teammates, that it's been very well documented, and the way he's handling this situation, it's pretty bad. I don't have any faith in drafting him. If the Lions ever drafted him, I would be like very, very, very angry. Even if he figures it out a little bit, I'd still be angry.
Yeah.
Because it's been too much, like, overwhelming, like, going against him and then going for him.
What if he pulls a reverse Baker Mayfield and he goes from Oklahoma to Texas Tech, kind of like how Baker went Texas Tech to Oklahoma?
I don't know if he can go to that big of a school. I really don't know. I really don't know if he can.
I don't know who their starting quarterback is.
I mean, neither, to be honest. But like, even if a big school has an opening, I don't know if they're willing to do that.
So you think Wyoming would be like the highest level of competition in that same range?
I do.
So even like a Cal couldn't get him?
Maybe.
Yeah. So Spencer Rattler is a weird situation. So is DJU.
Sucks. That guy sucks.
Those were two guys that I think both were in the top 3 or maybe top 4 of Heisman voting coming into the season. Now, neither are there, obviously. One's been replaced. The other still with Clemson, but now Clemson's up to 3 losses, I believe. I think they lost this past week to NC State, was it?
Yeah.
So
DJU's riding off of 3 of his last 5 games being below 50% completion.
Terrible.
He legitimately is not good. Like I don't know what happens with these athletes where, like even if you watch some of his high school film that you can find, because it's young, he's young enough where that digital age was around for him. Like he looked like great in high school. I don't know what the hell happens. Like it just has to be that the pressure, the amount of time to throw is just too much for him to overcome. Like, you probably have, but I'd say probably half the time going from high school to college to throw, and then you have more than half the time, or less than half, it would be the word I want, from college to the NFL to throw. So, like, I don't know if that adjustment's really getting to him because he just makes so many bad decisions. I think he just feels too pressured. He feels paranoid. He looks so bad. He doesn't look in any way, shape, or form in any aspect of the field like an NFL quarterback.
I do got to say, I feel bad for some of these really high recruited players because they are kids. They're trying to get a grasp of the game. And if they're a little bit slower learner, they just get ripped apart. And the one I'm really worried about, Archie Manning, or Arch Manning. Like, very worried that he's going to come in with just incredible praise, because obviously he's going to. And if he starts slow whatsoever, that could hurt him really bad.
I'm not as worried. I think football is just so natural in that family. They had, 3 NFL quarterbacks. Cooper was going to the NFL until he had so many injuries that he just couldn't anymore. Like, they were going to have 4 NFL family members. That's just a different breed, someone with those genetics, and he's very clearly the best high school football player right now. Like, he's just so dominant. I'm not too worried about it. I think he understands the game, just like his dad, like Peyton, like his dad's Eli, but his dad's Cooper, excuse me.
Yep.
So his dad does, like Eli does, like Peyton does. Like, I think he understands the game to the level they do. He can obviously continue to grow because he's still young and understand it a little better. And once his physicality even further develops, when he's already like 6'4", like I'm not concerned about him at all. I think, I don't want to just lock him in as this just unreal next best guaranteed first overall pick guy, but like he's the closest thing to it, like maybe even more than Trevor Lawrence.
But see, now you're praising him even more. You're hyping him up even more. And if there's someone watching and they're thinking, oh man, this is the guy, and then he comes in and performs poorly, then they start, what the hell is wrong with Arch Manning? He was supposed to be a stud.
Yeah, I think that's on people for having those expectations. I'd never expect a true freshman to come in and dominate, or even like redshirt freshman. You expect them to have bumps. You have to expect people to have hiccups. So everyone wants instant gratification, instant success, but you got to realize in sports you have to have patience, and in life you have to have patience. And in this instance, like if he went and struggled his freshman year, I wouldn't be surprised because it is a large change. It's a lifestyle change. It's a football change. Everything is different. But I guarantee you, as long as he's healthy, he figures it out.
And he's got the biggest support group, the best support group anyone could ask for going into the NFL world.
Yeah, he could
college football world.
He couldn't get any more advice than nobody in football can get more advice and recommendations and tips that are so like elite and helpful than him.
All right, well, let's move on over to the Heisman Watch. Currently, the highest odds to win the Heisman Trophy. Bryce Young coming in first. Matt Corral second, just slightly behind. But then there's a bit of a drop off with CJ Stroud being 3. A couple other guys. Caleb Williams already sitting 5th place, I think is crazy.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
I'm also a little bit shocked that Bijan is as low as he is because Bijan's been absolute money recently.
Didn't he get hurt or something, though?
He's still plus 4,000. Unless it was this past week.
I thought I saw something about an injury for him.
Let's see. Bijan Robinson, injury, anything? Nope. Doesn't look like it.
Then I could have read something wrong. But, yeah, it is such a quarterback award. I feel like quarterbacks have the higher odds. I'm still pulling for Kenneth Walker. I would love to see any of the Michigan school guys to do it at any point. So if Kenneth Walker knew it, that'd be awesome. He's gonna have to run all over Michigan, run all over Ohio State in order to do that. The other teams that he plays the rest of the year, he can. So he's got to do it in those 2 games as well. He's not impossible. Plus 2,000 is kind of tempting to put some money on him right now.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think Matt Corral would be my number 1 vote. Even though Bryce Young's the favorite, I still think Matt Corral's my number 1 vote.
And then Kenny Pickett, he's getting a lot of hype. He is currently sitting 4th with plus 1,000 odds. That's a guy we were talking about a couple days ago that he's having a Joe Burrow light season. Being a senior, he's really starting to light it up. And I saw some high praise from Colin Cowherd, too, saying Kenny Pickett absolutely going to be a pro at the next level.
Yeah, and when I started doing a little more research on him, I mentioned that first, it is kind of like a Joe Burrow light season where it's a little bit out of nowhere and it's just playing really well. But I feel like it's more of a Mac Jones light season at this point where it is kind of out of nowhere, but he's now finally in the spotlight for recognition and he's playing well. He's just making all the right plays. He's not overwhelming with some crazy, just unreal throws, but he's just making every single right play, which is exactly what Mac Jones did at Bama. So I think it's closer to that, which, if he can be a Mac Jones-type player, that's an NFL quarterback. It's great. It's a first-round pick. And who knows, if he continues and doesn't have any down games the rest of the year, maybe he does win the Heisman.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see a guy like that do it. I think you said Matt Corral was your guy right now. I think unless Bryce Young has a bad stretch and loses 2 games, because I think that there's a good chance they lose to Georgia in the SEC championship.
Yeah.
But I think even with that, they still make the playoffs, and he's still a front runner. So I would go with Bryce Young, but I think those 2 guys are definitely the top dogs, and so do the betting odds.
Yeah, I don't think CJ Stroud's realistically in this conversation.
Yeah. He's got to go crazy to do something.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the big 3. You got Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. At least in my opinion, that is the big 3 right now. Those are the teams that are going to be the toughest competition going forward in the season.
It's not the top 3 teams.
It is not. Cincinnati is there, but that's where I posed the question to you. Is there any team in college football right now, including Cincinnati, is there any team that can compete with Georgia, Bama, and Ohio State? So let's say this team makes it into the playoffs and has to verse one of them. Any team out there that has a chance?
You know the answer. It's a no. It just isn't. My 2 front runners for betting odds would be Georgia and then Ohio State. I still think Ohio State needs to be in the top 4. Oklahoma's 8-0. Bullshit. No, they're not an 8-0 team. They are the worst 8-0 team I've ever seen. They are not that great. It's been better with Caleb Williams in, but they're still not good. They're still not a good 8-0 team.
Yeah.
Then conversely, Michigan might be the worst 7-0 team I've ever seen. But that bubble's probably going to pop this week, at least between one of those 2 Michigan schools. Oklahoma's going to lose here at some point. The Big 12 is a joke anyway. When the college football rankings come out, it's mostly this week, right?
I think so.
So when that comes out, I would actually be shocked if Oklahoma's above Ohio State. I would say it's going to be Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, and then they'll throw Cincinnati in at number 4. I think that'll be the ranking.
I think that's a good ranking. I definitely think Ohio State should be up there ahead of Oklahoma. Michigan and Michigan State, I do not think either team is legitimate.
No.
However, I have a big complaint with the freaking AP poll and
Go
the
ahead.
AP commission. Freaking, how many times are they just going to be like, okay, let's just throw someone above Michigan State, even if they really haven't done much. Throwing in Oregon above Michigan State this week. Last week they threw up, who was it, Penn State and Oklahoma State above them. Like, they just don't want to recognize Michigan State as a top 7 team. They're always just going to throw someone over them.
Maybe Michigan State should be Ohio State like Oregon did.
Maybe they will.
Maybe they won't.
Maybe they'll beat Michigan, and then Michigan will still be ranked above them somehow.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be funny.
I've got a big complaint there. But
if they beat Michigan, they're probably moving in the top 5.
You think?
I think that they'll jump above Oregon at that point. And I really, 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 really think Oklahoma's moving down. I think too much can be shown that there's other teams better than them. I think Oklahoma's out of the top 5 after this week. I don't know who they're playing. I haven't looked. I don't care. Still think that they're gonna be out of it.
Yeah, I want to see. They're playing Texas Tech.
Oh, I hope Texas Tech wins so badly.
It took me a little while to actually find the game because, on the ESPN website, they don't sort games by top 25 like they do in the app.
Yeah.
So you literally have to scroll through every single game, even if it's Division III.
Yeah, it's a little garbage.
Is there, if you have Oklahoma, a Caleb Williams-led Oklahoma, who wins, them or Michigan, them or Michigan State, them or Iowa? What are you thinking?
I think I take all 3 Big Ten teams over them. I legitimately think that Oklahoma's overrated. The Big 12 is overrated every year. It's not a very great football conference anymore. It really isn't. I think that Oklahoma is just too highly overrated. Oregon even might be too overrated. The Pac-12 isn't unreal either. The Big Ten, even though some of these teams are maybe a little fraudulent, seems like a lot of college football teams are this year, I still think they're better.
Yeah, I think with Caleb Williams in there, there's actually a chance that Oklahoma is able to take all 3 because I think he's a very talented player. And Michigan and Michigan State, they are both teams that for some reason like to play bad competition closely, which annoys the piss out of me.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I'd like to see the matchup, but we'd have to wait until like a bowl game later on in the season. Let's talk about games happening this weekend. You've got Florida at Georgia, or is it Georgia at Florida? Sorry.
It doesn't matter where they play.
No, it's not. Is
it a neutral?
It must be a neutral site in Jacksonville because it says in Jacksonville, but it says Georgia versus Florida, not Georgia at Florida.
Oh yeah, it's probably just a neutral site then. It doesn't matter where they play.
Georgia should take it.
Georgia will take it.
They will take it.
They will. They're not losing.
The defense has been so good. And with Florida dropping games against the likes of, who was it? Oh, they've got 3 losses now.
Yeah.
Alabama, Kentucky, and LSU this past week. Not a good look.
No, they didn't look good against LSU at all. And Kentucky, they're legit. Obviously, they're the best team in the country this year.
True.
But yeah, Georgia's. I would be shocked if they don't win out, at least going to the SEC championship.
Then you got Ole Miss at Auburn. You think Bo Nix has some magic in him?
I think Bigsby might have some magic in him. Bo Nix won't be the guy with the magic. Just that team needs Malik Willis. If they had Malik Willis, they'd be undefeated.
Yep.
So I think that one should be a pretty good game though. That one should be pretty entertaining. I'm gonna have to lean on Ole Miss in this one though. Unfortunately, I'd like Auburn to win because I like Auburn. I like Tank, but Matt Corral, man.
Did Tank Bigsby do anything against Arkansas?
Was that last week?
Yeah.
No, I had a tough game.
68 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah. I shouldn't call it tough, but it wasn't spectacular.
He's kind of a bum, isn't he?
He's kind of elite, yeah.
Matt Corral should have a big game. Let's talk about the game that is at 7:30, but should be at noon. That would be Penn State at Ohio State. They announced that this is going to be the primetime game at night on ABC about a week and a half ago. Everyone's pissed because Michigan and Michigan State are the 1 and 2 teams, where Ohio State and Penn State, the 3 and 4 teams in the division. No one likes it except for Ohio State and Penn State fans. Then Penn State goes and drops a game against Illinois, and it's like, okay, can we flex this now? This should not be a noon game between Michigan and Michigan State. Sure enough, it doesn't happen. So super annoyed about that because that means I can't actually be up at East Lansing when the game is actually going on. And then you get a blowout here. because that's what it's going to be. Ohio State is going to dismantle Penn State.
Yeah, it's so stupid. It really is gonna there's no chance Penn State can even think about winning this game.
It's like the frustration that I felt when it was announced, because we're gonna do a tailgate with me, my cousin, the group of friends we have up there at Michigan State. The frustration I felt when I realized I'm not gonna be able to participate in the tailgate. I'm not gonna be able to watch the game up there. Oh my gosh. Different levels.
Yeah, that sucks.
Iowa at Wisconsin, that's a noon game. That one's not going to be watched because everyone's going to be watching Michigan at Michigan State. But could there be upset potential here? Wisconsin over number 9 Iowa.
Maybe. It's not like impossible, but I still think Iowa will come out with it. This Wisconsin has looked kind of like, just kind of whatever. Whereas Iowa, despite their loss, have looked pretty good in every other game. So I'm going to still lean Iowa.
I am looking on ESPN. They have tickets as low as with how much you can get tickets for right now. The Penn State at Ohio State game, you can get tickets as low as $99. So pretty expensive. Shows that there is definitely some high caliber play going to be going on there. Tickets for the Michigan State game, the low is $258.
Don't doubt it.
Because obviously everyone's going to be want to be at that game. And I got to say, when I get up there, I want to go check out the sets of college football, college game day. And then they also have big noon kickoff from Fox. And then I believe that Barstool is going to have their own show up there as well.
Probably, yeah.
So I definitely want to go check out all those booths and stuff. But let's hop into the actual game. Michigan at Michigan State. 2 run games that have been top 5 in the league. You got a 2-man horse at Michigan with Corum and Haskins, even though everyone thinks Corum is the guy and to stop giving the ball to Haskins. Then you got a 1-man show over at Michigan State with Kenneth Walker. You said you put money on Michigan State. Why? You said you don't think Michigan really has a chance. Why?
The only reason I put money on Michigan State is because Cade McNamara is going to start this game. If J.D. McCarthy was starting this game, I would have hammered Michigan. I guess anyone who would want to take that bet, because Cade's not winning you a game. Corum doesn't get enough work to win you the game. Haskins is nothing more than a fine college running back. The defense is pretty solid too, but State, even with an underwhelming quarterback like Peyton Thorne's, nothing more than fine. Let's be real. They still find explosive plays in the passing game. They find explosive plays in the running game. And you got to win off explosive plays. And how this match is going to be this year, you have to have an explosive play on nearly every drive if you want to score a touchdown. Let's be real. It's not going to happen as often with Michigan without J.J. McCarthy on the field, because Cade just doesn't do anything spectacular. I really hope, for the sake of the entertainment value of the game, that J.J. does go in very early. Mm-hmm. But I just can't imagine that it does.
And Michigan is a 4-point favorite. When you look at the teams, comparisons, I think they're a pretty close team. Total yards, Michigan State has 10 more. Yards allowed, Michigan State's given up 100 more per game. However, when you look at the points allowed compared to the yards allowed, it's much closer. Both have pretty comparable defenses, solid defenses. The one difference that makes me favor Michigan State, other than me being a Michigan State alum, is that Michigan State can find that big play, where it seems like Michigan, they don't really have those as much. They're more of a grinded out type of team, where if Michigan State needs to score within 40 seconds, they have the possibility of going deep to Reed. They have the possibility of going deep to Naylor. So I think it's going to be a very fun game, a very exciting game. And I will say, there is a possibility of one of these teams being legit competition for those top 3 teams, but that's only if they blow their opponent out. If Michigan comes in and blows out State 49-7, then hey, maybe Michigan can do something real. Yeah, same way if it's Michigan State.
If that happens, if the other 5 teams ahead of Michigan win, though, regardless of what Michigan does, the only team I can see them jumping above is Oklahoma. And maybe if Oklahoma just moving down to 6 or possibly lower. I can't see Georgia's not leaving from 1 unless they lose. Still might not even. Cincinnati, they need to lose, and they're not going to lose. If they lose, then they're going to drop like 15 spots.
Yeah.
And then at that point, Bama, like they would, if they're not moving unless they lose as well. Same thing, Ohio State. So like, Michigan just kind of stuck here, unfortunately.
The only chance that Michigan or Michigan State have to actually get into the playoffs is if you have one of these other teams lose, which the possibility is not great except for the SEC championship, but I feel like whoever loses that is still going to be locked in. Also, or like the only way I should say is if they can beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
And what are the odds of that? Not very high.
Not at all.
So are we thinking that Cincinnati's kind of locked into the playoffs? Or do you think that the college football playoffs are going to come in and say, no, we're not doing this with the group of 5 school?
They really might not. Like, it very well could be that Oklahoma's there instead of Cincinnati, which would be garbage, like absolute garbage. But I don't know. They don't like to do anything with the group of 5 schools, which I would love to see Cincinnati there. They're undefeated, and they've looked pretty good doing it for the most part. It's like they deserve to be there. So if they're not, then I'm going to have some real issues.
I agree. I think Desmond Ridder isn't even getting enough love when it comes to the actual Heisman race.
Yeah.
I think right now he is a top 3 quarterback coming into this draft class, which as of the start of the season, I would have been like, he must be doing something crazy. He's playing well, but a lot of people have dropped off. That's for sure.
At this rate, he'll be a first-round pick.
Yeah. Feels like it.
Yeah.
Let's do our final predictions here. Michigan State. I want to score and maybe a stat line. Maybe there's one guy that goes off in your mind. Who is it? And all that kind of stuff.
Michigan State's going to win this game 27-24.
Okay.
It'll be a very close one. Kenneth Walker's going to have plus 150 yards.
Okay. I'm gonna
just on the ground.
Right. I'm going to go Michigan State 24, Michigan 23.
Oh, that close.
It's going to be a walk-off, and he fumbles the punt.
No,
it's going to be a walk-off. He fumbles the punt.
There's no chance.
Yeah, you're right. It's not going to happen because it needs to be happening in the big house where we get to see the fan go, oh, my gosh. No, but I think it's going to be a very close game, and I wouldn't be shocked if the spread's covered either way.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I guess the spread should be covered by Michigan State is what I
hope. Yeah. Hopefully I make some money here, but if not, that means Michigan wins, and then that means J.J. McCarthy played, and I'll be happy.
There we go. All right, well, that's going to do it for our college preview show. Any final thoughts here, Chase?
I mean, the only thing I got to say is shout out Wake Forest. They're also 7-0. Just put up 70 points on Army it was. So they look very good offensive defense, whatever. I mean, talk about that. But offensively, they're kind of fun to watch. So we'll see what happens when they play someone else. You know, if they can continue to do this well, they'll get a bowl game. I mean, they're going to get a bowl game, but they could get a pretty good bowl game, and we'll see what they do. Maybe they find themselves in like the top 10 starting next season.
It'd be fun. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's unlikely.
But it'd be fun. All right, well, that's going to do it for the show. We want to thank you so much for coming out and giving us a listen. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. It's again on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. We also have a Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok account. All of those links, including the Twitter, will be down in the description, so you don't need to be going to your app and trying to search that up. You can just head right down in the description, click the link, and you'll be all set. If you are on YouTube watching the video show, we would thank you so much for that. If you could please give us a like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to turn on notifications. Also, let us know, who are you taking? Michigan at Michigan State. It's going to be in East Lansing, a 12 o'clock game. It's going to be a big one. It's going to decide a lot of things in the college football playoff landscape. Who are you taking? Then we go over to our podcast listeners. If you are listening on a podcast platform, if you could please give us a follow and a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming out. And as always, We're not professionals. And finally, go green.